that you are well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 3 English lesson on future tense. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once we've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, then we're going to log on to, then we're going to go to English Language Arts, grade 3. Once you've gone to English Language Arts, grade 3, and then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of future tense. All right. So our chapter is future tense. The subject is English Language Arts, grade 3. And the lessons that we are going to focus on under the chapter of future tense is to change the sentence to future tense. So that is basically going to be our chapter as well as the lessons for today. All right, so basically when we find out anything about tenses, right, then tenses, we have present tense, past tense, and we have future tense, right? So today we're just going to focus on one of the tenses. But if we were to just give a brief of the other tenses, then present tense is about things that is happening now, right? Because tenses is either present, past, or future. But present tense, it's anything that is happening now, right? It's the action that is taking place now. And then we have the past tense, right? The past tense, it basically tells us about something that had happened already. So that has happened in the past. And then we have future tense, which is going to be the chapter for today, which is future tense. And future tense, it tells about something that is going to happen, meaning it has not happened yet, it's going to happen. So whether it's going to happen tonight, whether it's going to happen tomorrow, whether it's going to happen next month, next week, next year, it's going to still happen. It did not happen yet, right? So that is future tense. It is going to happen, right? And whenever we use future tense, right? So basically the what we need to specifically also look at is the verb, the doing word within that sentence, right? Because that will basically tell us the action that is taking place and when it is taking place, right? So we basically need to use a verb in the future tense. And all we do is we add the word will before that base form of the verb, right? So which means that within our sentence we have a verb, right, which is the doing word. So in order to show the future tense, right, or to write the future tense within a sentence, we are going to have to add the word will just before the verb. And if we look, let me do this. And if we look at this example here in front of us, it says he will walk to school, right? So here we have our verb. I'm going to circle the verb. Our verb is walk. That's the action that is taking place, right? So that's the verb. So they said that with the future tense, we need to add the word will just before the verbs. And there we have the word will. So in order to indicate the future tense that will show what is going to happen, we need to basically add the word will just before the base form of that verb, right? So he will walk to school. And will basically indicates that it is in the future. So he did not walk to school yet. He hasn't walked to school yet, right? He's not walking to school now, but they're saying that he will walk to school. So whether he will walk to school later, whether he will walk to school tomorrow, whether he will walk to school the next day, next week, or next month, but he will walk to school. It shows that it is still something that is going to happen, right? So that is basically future tense. Future tense, it tells us about something that is going to happen. And within a sentence, we just need to add the word will in front of the verb. And to make it more easier, you're just going to have to locate the verb, right? And remember, a verb is the doing word, it's the action within that sentence, right? All right, so for those of you who just arrived, um, we are doing the chapter of future tense, and the lesson that we are focusing on is to change the sentence to future tense. And we said future tense, it tells us about something that is going to happen, and we always have to add the word will in front of our verb to basically show the future tense, right? So to use the verb in the future tense, we need to add the word will before our verb in order to show the future tense. All right, so before we go to the activity that we're going to do together, here is another description as well as examples of future tense, right? It says, so future tense, right? Like we said, it is basically something that is still going to happen. So it says a verb tense used for a future activity or future state of being, right? So basically, it is just it's something, it shows us it's something that is going to still happen, right? Because that description is not giving us the actual description of what it is. But future tense, it basically shows that something is still going to happen, right? Meaning it did not happen yet. And if we look at the activities, right, what we are going to do is we are first going to identify the verb within that sentence, and then we will see how the word will is in front of that verb. So it says, Lisa will run home tomorrow. So Lisa will run home tomorrow, right? And if we look at the sentence, right, can we identify the verb within that sentence? And if we identify the verb, what is the action that Lisa is doing? It says Lisa will run home tomorrow. What is the action that Lisa is doing? All right, so if we look at the action that Lisa is doing, then we can say it is run. So run is our verb, right? So we said when it comes to future tense, we need to add the word will in front of our verb. So once you have identified your verb, right, now you add the word will in front of that verb, which will basically indicate our future tense. So now it says Lisa will run home tomorrow, right? So when is she going to run? Tomorrow. Toby will be angry this afternoon, right? So will be angry tomorrow, this afternoon, sorry. Or let's leave the state of being. Let's just go here to this one. That's more simpler. Sarah will argue. Here we have our word argue. That is our verb. Argue is our verb. So it says Sarah will argue with you later, right? So which means that will is the word that we put in front of our verb, which is argue, to show that it is going to happen. Right? So that word will, we need to put directly before our verb, and that basically shows our future tense. All right, so now we're going to do an activity, right? Before we go to aplusstudents.ca. And it says that we need to add will before the base form of the verb, right? So it says, Tan and Erica explain their reason for leaving early. We need to change that sentence into the future tense. How are we going to change the sentence into the future tense? By adding what and adding what where. So Tan and Erica explain their reason for leaving. We need to change that sentence into the future tense. How are we going to change that sentence into the future tense? All right, so we're going to change that sentence, right, to the future tense by adding the word will in front of our verb, right? So here, explain is our verb. So this is our verb. And it says that we need to add the word will in front of our verb, right? So it says, Tan and Erica explain the reason for leaving early, right? So which means that we are going to say Tan and Erica will explain their reason for leaving early, because that basically indicates the future tense. So will is the word that we basically just need to add in front of our verb to basically show the future tense. So the only thing we do is we add will in front of the verb. That's it. Right? So we add will in front of our verb. All right. If we look at the next sentence, right? The next sentence says, so the next sentence is, I walk to school every Thursday. I walk to school every Thursday. What is the verb within that sentence? What is the verb within that sentence? I walk to school every Thursday. What is the verb? What is the action within that sentence? It says, I walk to school every Thursday. What is the verb within that sentence? What is the action within that sentence? What is he or she doing every Thursday? All right. So basically, if we identify the verb, then walk is our verb, right? And remember, we said that we need to add the word will before the base form of the verb, right? In order to show our future tense. So now, if we want to change that sentence to the future tense, we can then say, I will walk to school every Thursday. I will walk to school every Thursday. So that word will, it basically indicates now that that sentence is now in the future tense. So I will walk to school every Thursday. All right, and if you look at the next sentence, it says the boys and girls dance at Owen's party. The boys and girls dance at Owen's party. All right, so if we identify the verb, then dance is our verb. So remember, we said when we want to change a sentence into the future tense, we need to add the word will in front of our verb in order to basically change our sentence into the future tense. So now we can say the boys and girls will dance at Owen's party, right? So the boys and girls will dance at Owen's party. So there we have our word will included in our sentence, and now that sentence has now changed into the future tense. And we said the future tense, it tells us about something that is going to happen, right? The future tense, it tells us what is going to happen. And remember, we said that if we want to use if we want to show that that sentence is basically changed into the future tense, then we need to add the word will in front of our verb, and that will basically show that the sentence is now changed into the future tense. It basically shows now that something is going to happen. It did not happen yet, that is going to happen, whether it is tomorrow, whether it is later tonight, whether it is the next day, whether it is the weekend, whether it is next month, next week, but it's going to happen. All right, so we are doing our tutorial lesson on aplusstudents.ca, right? And that's where we're going to do our tutorial as well as our test. So let us go to aplusstudents.ca. And we said our chapter is future tense, right? Our chapter is future tense. And the lesson that we are going to be focusing on under our future tense is to change the sentence to future tense. So we are going to change the sentence to future tense. All right, and before we go on to our activity, right, once again, we said that the future tense, it tells us about something that is going to happen, right? And in order for us to use the verb in the future tense, we need to add the word will. Guys, we need to add the word will just before the verb, right? So we add the word will just before the verb, and that will basically show our future tense. So it is will. So will and the action. Will run, will dance, will jump, right? So we basically add the word will in front of our verb. And here we have an example where we say he will walk to school. Walk is our verb, and we add the word will in front of that verb. Then it will show what the person is going to do, what is going to happen. Will walk. So he will walk to school, right? And if we look at our activity, right, we are going to now select the present tense verb within that is in bold. So the verb is in bold, right? So our verb is in bold, and we are going to now change that specific sentence to the future tense. So look at the word at your verb still, right? Remember we said that we need to add will in front of our verb in order to change that sentence into the future tense. So what they even did was they now put the verb in bold so that it can be more easier for you to be able to identify what the verb is. So now it says Ellie and Carly explain the reason for leaving early. This is now the future, this is now the present tense, right? We are now saying Ellie and Carly explain the reason for leaving early. But now we need to change that present tense verb into the future tense. And if we change that verb into the future tense, what word are we going to add in front of our verb in order to change that sentence into the future tense? All right, so if we look at our sentence, right, we need to change that sentence to the future tense, right? And then we can say, Ellie and Carly, there's our verb. So in just in front of the verb, I'm going to do that to show that the word will needs to come in front of that verb. So Ellie and Carly will explain the reason for leaving early. And if I were to rewrite that sentence, then we can say, Ellie and Carly will explain their reason for leaving early. Right? So Ellie and Carly will explain the reason for leaving early. So all we did was we added the word will in front of the verb, which is explain, and that now basically changes the whole sentence into the future tense. All right, before I continue, are we still okay? Do you understand what future tense is? Do I need to re-explain what future tense is? Because everybody is very quiet. Are we still okay? Do we understand um, future tense? All right. I will assume that we are shy today. All right. So we are now going to look at our present tense sentence and we're going to change it to the future tense, right? And we say that when we change it to the future tense, then we will basically just add the word will before our verb. And what they did was they put the verb in bold. So which means that we only need to add the word will in front of that word that's in bold. So the dogs escape through the open gate in the yard. The dogs escape through the open gate in the yard. We need to change that sentence to the future tense. All right. And when we change that sentence to the future tense, and then we can say, the dogs, I'm going to do that, will escape through the open gate in the yard. So the dogs will escape through the open gate in the yard. There we added our word will in front of our verb, which is escape, right? The dogs will escape through the open gate in the yard. So will was added in front of the word escape, and escape is our verb. All right, before we go on to our test, it says the women arrange the chairs in a circle. So the women arrange the chairs in a circle. Here the word arrange is in bold, and the word arrange in bold, sorry, this is our verb, right? This is our verb. So we now need to change that whole sentence into the future tense. We need to change the whole sentence to the future tense. How are we going to change that sentence to the future tense? Guys, let's try it, please. How are we going to change that sentence to the future tense? All right. So here we have the sentence, the women arrange their chairs in a circle. And in order for us to change that sentence to the future tense, right, we will then add the word will in front of the word arrange, arrange being our verb, right? So, which means that if we change that sentence to the future tense, it will sound like the women will arrange the chairs in a circle. So, the women will arrange the chairs in a circle, right? So, even if I were to rewrite that sentence, it says, the women will arrange the chairs in a circle. right? So there we have our verb, which is arrange, and there we have the word will, which is added in front of our verb. Let me write here verb. So we have the word will, and we see that the word will, we basically need to add before our verb, and that basically shows now that our sentence is in the future tense. And once again, future tense, it tells us about something that is going to happen, right? All right, so now let's go to our test. All right, it says we need to select the present tense verb in bold and change it to the future tense. So it says, Tess and Janelle build a model of the earth. So Tess and Janelle build a model of the earth. We need to change that sentence to the future tense. Is going to be option one. We're just going to say Tess and Janelle build a model of the earth. Or option two, where we say Tess and Janelle will build a model of the earth. We need to select the correct one. Is it build or is it will build? Option one or option two? We need to choose the correct one. Is it option one or option two? Guys, you're not interacting. I'm not even sure if you understand anymore because you're not saying anything. You're not participating. We need to choose option one or option two. Tess and Janelle build a model of the earth. Do we say they build a model of the earth or they will build a model of the earth? All right, nobody's answering. So the option two. So we need to say Tess and Janelle will build a model of the earth. The word will needs to be written just before the verb will. All right. The boys feed the horses at their uncle's farm. The boys feed the horses at their uncle's farm. We need to choose the correct word to show that the sentence is changing from present tense to future tense. Do we say the boys feed the horses at their uncle's farm, or the boys will feed the horses at their uncle's farm? We need to change it to the future tense. They feed the horses, or they will feed the horses. Option one or option two. All right, nobody's answering. I'm actually feeling very, very sad, but okay. We can then say the boys will feed the horses at their uncle's farm. Paula and Joel save the fossils for their classroom. So Paula and Joel save the fossils for their classroom. Is it save or is it will save? We need to change that sentence to the future tense. Do we say Paula and Joel save the fossils for their classroom? Or do we say that Paula and Joel will save the fossils for their classroom? Save or will save? Option one, or do we say it's option two? Just save or will save? All right, then if we choose the correct word or answer, right, to show that we are changing that sentence from present tense sentence to the future tense, right, then we can say Paula and Joel will save the fossils for their classroom. So will, right? And as you can see, will we add in front of our verb, right? That is what we said. We see that future tense, it tells us about something that is going to happen. And we add the word will just before our verb within the sentence. All right, we're going on to the next one. It says, I walk to school every Thursday. I walk to school every Thursday. So if we were to change that sentence, I walk to school every Thursday, to the future tense, right? Remember we said that if we change the word to the future tense, then we need to add the word will, right? If we change the word or change the sentence. So we then will say, I, do we say first, I walk to school every Thursday? Or will the correct word be, I will walk to school every Thursday? Which one do you think is correct? I walk to school every Thursday? Or do we say, I will walk to school every Thursday? All right. And if we change that sentence, right, to the future tense, then we will say, I will walk to school every Thursday. So I will walk to school every Thursday. It says the dogs escape through the open gate in the yard. The dogs escape through the open gate in the yard. We need to state the, are we going to change that sentence to the future tense? Guys, you're not even trying, you're not even answering, you're not even attempting to try to give answers. You're not even saying it's option one or option two. Nobody's saying anything. Not even one person is saying anything, whether it's right or wrong. Nobody's even interacting. All right, but let's continue. It says the dogs escape through the open gate in the yard, right? So if we were to change that sentence to the future tense, are we going to say the dogs escape, which is option one, through the open gate in the yard? Or do we say option two, the dogs will escape through the open gate in the yard? All right, so if we choose the correct word or answer, right, to change that sentence to the future tense, then we can say the dogs will escape through the open gate in the yard. So the dogs will escape through the open gate in the yard. So we basically add the word will in front of our verb, which is escape, in order to show how we change that sentence from the present tense sentence to the future tense. So will escape. All right. Let's do one last one. It says Martha and Bonnie divide the candle between themselves. So we're going to say, are we saying Martha and Bonnie will divide the candy between themselves? Or are we going to say Marshall and Bonnie divide the candy between themselves? We need to choose the correct option. All right, so we can then say Martha and Bonnie will divide the candy between themselves, right? All right, so that is basically it. That we've now come to the end of our lesson on future tense, right? We said future tense, it is basically, it shows things that is still going to happen, right? So it is going to happen whether it is tomorrow, which is in the future, next week, next month, but it's still going to happen, right? And that basically shows the future tense, right? And then we also said that when it comes to the future tense, we need to add the word will in front of the word verb, and that is basically to show the tense within our within the sentence, right? All right, so that is now the end of our lesson on future tense, and we had to change the sentence to future tense, right? All right, so that is now it, grade 3. Have a good evening and weekend further. Goodbye.